Good evening, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitter Live, Facebook Live. Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon, a retired NYPD detective with 20 plus years in law enforcement. And if you like all things true crime related from a police perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you will get all things DutyRon when I go live and when I upload another video. I want to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters, my channel members, and everybody who positively interacts here in all of the live streams. We had an exciting day today in the true crime field. The additional charges on Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. I don't like calling her Daybell because I know that's what she likes. I did it today, but shame on me. I'm calling her Lori Vallow, and I'm sticking to it. Murder charges ×3 for Chad Daybell. Murder charges ×2 for Lori Vallow. It's another win for the day of justice for the families, justice for the people, justice for the community, everyone who's been out there. Again, I want to say special thank you to all of my supporters, folks who subscribe, who interact positively. Jolene Marie is here, and I want to say special thank you to Jolene Marie. She was the first to message me today about the news. And if you guys haven't heard that news, I'm going to bring you a quick press conference so you guys can get up to speed on it. Steve, thank you so much for joining. Over the Road Trucker, also a contributor. He contributed money to the billboards for our boys, Orrin and Orson West. Thank you, Steve. I'm going to mess up your name, Kuzinski. That's the best I could do. But thank you so much for your generous contribution to the Bakersfield billboard. Annie Elise, great to see you. Carla Marie, I'll get back to you guys in 2 seconds. Hello, Princess Michelle. Let's go with this video.
J.J. Vallow would have been turning 9 years old today. Instead, his mother is charged with killing him. These are the indictments against Chad and Lori Daybell. Authorities say they not only killed J.J. Vallow, but they murdered his sister, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell, Chad Daybell's former wife.
I'm Madison County Prosecutor Rob Wood, and next to me is the Fremont County Prosecutor Lindsay Blake. We are working jointly, along with our teams, in the matter involving the deaths of Tammy Daybell, Tylee Ryan, and Joshua or J.J. Vallow. Before we discuss details of the grand jury, I would like to recognize the law enforcement that's with us today. On behalf of myself, Lindsay, and our prosecution team, we want to express our deep appreciation for the efforts of the dozens of local, state, including Idaho Attorney General, federal law enforcement members, and Arizona law enforcement who have been working to gather evidence for a year and a half to bring justice to Tammy Daybell, Tylee Ryan, and J.J. Vallow. The unprecedented cooperation among law enforcement has been remarkable, and every person who has worked on this case is to be commended for their diligence and steadfast pursuit of the facts. The thousands of hours that have been invested into seeking the truth for these innocent victims must be recognized. Several members of the law enforcement team are here with us today, including members from Fremont County, the Rexburg Police, Madison County, Idaho State Police, and the FBI. So we want to thank you for all you've done. I'll now tell you the charges that that the grand jury have indicted Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow on. On Monday, May 24th, 2021, a Fremont County grand jury delivered the following new indictments. Lori and Chad Daybell were indicted on 2 counts of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception for the deaths of Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow. Lori and Chad Daybell were also indicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow. Lori and Chad Daybell were also indicted on the charge of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder in the death of Tammy Daybell. And Chad Daybell was also indicted on 1 count of first-degree murder in the death of Tammy Daybell. Lori Daybell was also indicted on the charge of grand theft related to Social Security survivor benefits allocated for the care of minors Tylee Ryan and J.J. Vallow that were appropriated after the children were missing and ultimately found deceased. Chad Daybell was also indicted on 2 counts of insurance fraud related to life insurance policies he had on Tammy Daybell, for which he was the beneficiary and received funds after her death.
Good morning. I'm Fremont County Prosecutor Lindsay Blake. We know many members of the community may feel that progress on this case has been slow. Due to the ongoing safety restrictions imposed by the courts during the pandemic, we just recently were given permission to present information to the grand jury for their review. I want to assure everyone that despite the delays, we have been working diligently to pursue justice for the victims in this case, to ensure we have the evidence required to prove the facts beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. Rob and I have partnered on the investigation into all actions against the victims, each of us cross-designated members of our offices, as well as Rachel Smith, an experienced homicide attorney, as deputy prosecutors. The partnership creates a prosecution team representing the people of both Madison and Fremont counties. Members of the grand jury deliberated and determined there is probable cause to believe the Daybells willfully and knowingly conspired to commit several crimes that led to the death of 3 innocent people. We believe the crimes occurred on or about October 26th of 2018 to January 15th of 2020 in the county of Fremont, state of Idaho, and elsewhere, including Madison County. Lori and Chad Daybell were both served early this afternoon with warrants. The court will be posting the public legal documents and the time of the first appearance hearing shortly, which will occur sometime later today or before noon tomorrow. That hearing will be held virtually and will be available for the viewing on the court's YouTube channel. The penalty for the most serious charges range from life in prison without the possibility of parole to the death penalty. We will not be disclosing further information about what penalties we will pursue for these charges. By law, however, we must make a decision and inform the defendants on whether we will pursue the death penalty within 60 days after the defendant's first entry of a plea. We know you have a lot of questions, but at this time we will not be taking questions while the matter is pending. Rob and I have a legal and ethical obligation to protect the defendant's rights to a fair trial. We take this obligation seriously, and we will continue to balance the public's interest in this matter, ethical obligations, including our responsibility to protect the integrity of the facts and evidence and minimizing unnecessary and erroneous publicity. This investigation is far from over. So if anyone has information related to these crimes, please contact Fremont County Sheriff's Department at 208-624-4482. The indictments have more details that should provide many answers to your questions. Under the law, Lori and Chad Daybell are presumed innocent while charges are pending. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Now, both
Pretty powerful, ladies and gentlemen. I got to tell you, just hearing that today gave me chills. But this will give you a good overview of the severity of the charges they're facing. My next guest is no stranger to crime time with DutyRon. He is a retired New York City police officer and a criminal defense attorney. I'd like to introduce my good friend, Joe Murray, and a fan favorite of the DutyRon channel. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ron. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man, it's always a pleasure to see you in here because when we talk about these type of situations, I mean, I'm good at going out and getting the bad guy, and I know you were good at it during your heyday, but this is not my specialty. So we heard the prosecutor. That was Lindsay Blake and Special Prosecutor Rob Wood. They gave that press conference, and I thought that they covered all grounds, and that's the reason I played it so we can give our listening audience a little bit of ground, a little bit of the lay of the land, so to speak. Serious charges here being brought forth to Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. You want to just talk just a little bit of an overview of what we got going on here, Joe?
Yeah, I have to tell you that, of course, I don't have any inside information, but I'm just looking at this and the charges. The fact that it was presented to a grand jury, that's one of the checks and balances. We have a grand jury and a secret proceeding. They hear the prosecutor's evidence and they determine whether or not there was probable cause to charge whatever the charges that are being presented to them. Now, when I look at this, the fact that they were both charged with the conspiracy and the murder, first degree murder of, it looks like the two kids, but I think it's count 5, only Chad was charged. I don't know if that's a misstep by the prosecutor, because I don't see how there's any different of a theory in these 3 murders. I don't see how the theory
Well,
is different.
I could give you a little bit of my 2 cents on that, Joe.
Sure.
And my 2 cents may not make sense, but count 5 that he is solely murder first degree. That was his wife, who allegedly died in her sleep. He said he woke up. He woke up in the morning, found her dead in bed. Uh, I think what that is they're holding him 100% responsible for the demise of his wife, and they're saying that Lori Vallow, his girlfriend at the time, which he married a very short time after his wife passed away, she conspired with him. So she's getting the conspiracy to commit first degree murder, but not the actual first degree murder, because they might have had, and this is my speculation, text messaging or some type of documentation that they were conjuring up the act of getting rid of Tammy Daybell. And that's the way I see it. That's the way I read it. And that could explain why he is charged with it and not her.
Right. It was my mistake. Count 5 is the conspiracy, and they're both charged with the conspiracy. It's the murder where he's individually charged. And if you look at these overt acts, I don't see why a grand jury would not have indicted him unless they were doing their job as a check on the government and said, you know what, you don't have enough to charge her with this, third murder.
You know, Joe, they've had so much time to dot their I's and cross their T's and present their case. I'm pretty sure that between the FBI and the state and local authorities, I think, the prosecution put their case together pretty tight. It took over a year for them to bring forward these murder charges, this conspiracy, and now we have a whole host of other extra add-ons like the grand theft by deception on Lori Vallow for taking both her children's Social Security benefits. It says times 2, and then Chad also had 2 life insurance policies on his wife, and before he killed her, he upgraded the charge, or allegedly killed her. He upgraded her life insurance policy to the max. So his insurance fraud on Tammy Daybell for 2 life insurance policies also are add-ons, and I think those are in my joking around. I always say those are free upgrades, but those are charges that are serious.
Yeah.
But like we spoke about prior to this live stream going, the top charges are what's going to get them up the creek without a paddle, so to speak. What's your feeling on the severity of these charges? Idaho is a capital punishment state. They have 60 days, Joe, according to the prosecutor, Lindsay Blake, as we heard in this piece. She said 60 days after their plea for the state to state their intention to the defense. What's your experience with that? Do they wait right until day 59 to make them sweat it out, or is it something that they just want to get out in the open? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think this is a fluid situation. Evidence is coming in. They're putting their case together right up until trial, and even at trial, strategy-wise. So the facts that they have, I'm sure they've already made a preliminary determination whether or not they're going to go forward. I don't think this is something they're just doing off the cuff. This is a case that they spent a good amount of time putting together, presented it now to a grand jury. They were successful in getting their indictments. Like I said, I wish that one of these reporters would have asked, did you present or offer that charge on the 6th count, just to get a feel for how the evidence was received. But I take your word for it. I think, they possibly on their own decided we're not going to pursue that. I mean, it's overkill, 3 life sentences or the death penalty on either one of these first degree murder charges is overkill. So It could have been a strategic decision. However, I do believe they've already made up their mind as to how they're going to proceed with this case. Whether or not they reveal it tomorrow or in a couple of weeks remains to be seen. But I don't think this is something they're just going to wake up and decide one day. This is something a long time coming. They put their evidence together. They successfully presented it to a grand jury. They have now indicted, and they're ready to move forward. So I think we'll hear something soon.
I tend to agree with you on that, Joe. I don't think going forward and presenting a capital punishment case is something that they just let's talk it over. Let's just make a quick decision. It's already decided. I lean towards the capital punishment here due to the severity of what they did to their children, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. It involves mutilation and burning and all kinds of, they talked about, their extreme. And I went over this with Bill Cannon and a couple of other buddies of mine from the police department, some seasoned homicide detectives. And when we talked about this, the heinous acts that they committed in the name of religion, and it's actually spelled out in the grand jury indictments here. These folks really believed in the doomsday kind of world is coming to the end type thing. And Chad Daybell was an author of several books where he talks about this. So they call her the cult mom for a good reason. And I got to tell you, at the end of the day, these are the most evil type of people to be out there, because everybody that gets in their way and that doesn't go along with their religion and their extreme ideology, they get eliminated. And these are very dangerous people. So I'm happy that they're behind bars, shackled and cuffed. And as we know, you and I always say this: you're innocent until proven guilty. So they need the due process. They got to go through the process here. And I feel that the prosecution has some strong evidence. And you had you had a chance to read this 8 or 9 page indictment. What were your thoughts on some of the verbiage in this before we get into it?
Before I go there, can I just address like what you were just saying about how evil they are to have done what they did? Our crime is punished in our society primarily on the evil mind. It's not so much the act, it's the mind. Give you an example. You can have an accidental homicide, a manslaughter. It results in a death, and then you have an intentional murder. Well, it could be a crime of passion. Then you have a contract killer, murder for hire. These are, this is what we elevate our punishment, which is more severe in our society. In this case, I'm not giving them any defense or excuse. I'm just saying cults are real. There are people who are in cults, they're brainwashed and they get deprogrammed. And I was watching this great series on what was the one with the Navy? What's that one? The Scientologists. Oh my God. And people coming out of Scientology, what they were saying, how they felt and what they were made to do. But now removing themselves from it, they feel that it was a cult. It may not be, it's a recognized religion. But what I'm getting at is I understand the depravity and the evilness in these instant acts, but the people themselves, if they're a member of a cult and they're under the control of a leader or somebody directing them, I don't think it's rises to the level of a contract killer, a terrorist. I think there's a distinction to be made.
Right.
And it's a mental distinction. This is not the person in their right mind. I'm not giving them an excuse. Again, I'm just saying where I hold someone who you pay to hire for murder, murder for hire. To me, that's one of the worst people out there because it shows their depravity. This is how they're earning a living, by killing people, So I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, Joe, very good. I mean, folks have referred to these two as serial killers, and I really feel it's and their extreme religious belief and mental health as well. She was definitely uh, in the highlight of this, not mentally sound, not an excuse in my eyes. And again, there's no for me, there's no excuse for taking your own flesh and blood and doing the things that she did to them. And her own brother, who is mentioned in this indictment, Alex Cox. I feel that they had something to do with him, with his demise as well, to try to eliminate him turning on them or whatever. So at the end of the day, this is a twisted, evil web of I almost could call it demonic. I mean,
Yeah.
some people don't agree with me on that, and we could all agree to disagree. But the actions of these two really have some resemblance of really demonic behavior. And to call your own daughter a demon, you can't be really of sound mind to think that. So I
It's just so sad. Ron, is there any indication as to how long they've been involved in this, cult or
well, uh,
theology?
I know Chad Daybell was writing books and into this before he met uh, Lori Vallow. Lori Vallow was fascinated and kind of starstruck by this guy. So I really don't want to go into that whole thing, Joe, because let's talk about these charges. But
Yeah, no,
before, before we
I was
dive,
only referring to it only because, I think about this young girl, 17 years old, and they
yeah,
actually deem her a demon.
yeah.
What was her life like? What must have that been like?
There's body
Um,
cam footage of her going into the I believe Phoenix Police Department to give a statement before her father was shot and killed by Lori's brother. And she seemed like a perfect young 17-year-old girl. She was sweet. She was kind. She was happy-go-lucky. She was consoling her mom and trying to help her mom out, give a statement, and it's just sad. The whole thing is a
yeah.
sad situation. I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. Joey Brooklyn is here. Hello, Joey Brooklyn. Dawn Marie, my one of my moderators there. Felicia Cortez is in the house. Thank you so much for joining. Lisa D, channel member. Fuzzy Doxy. I know that's she's got a dachshund just like I do. Jackie M, thank you so much for coming in. Guys, if you can let me know where you're watching, city, state, and your country, I'd love to give you a shout out before we dive into the grand jury indictment. Um, so let's get a roll call going quickly, if you don't mind, Joe. You were used to just standing roll call in a precinct, so let's
Right.
do that and get it out of the way. Um, Good to see you, Julie, Dr. Moskowitz, nice to have you. Thank you for coming in from Idaho. The I call it the potato capital of the United States, but everyone tells me it's not. Homewood, Alabama. Good to see you. Massachusetts. Great to see you. Thank you for joining. Hello from the UK. Wow, it's late over there. Manorville, New York. Good to see you, Facebook user. Illinois, Akron, Ohio, California, checking in. Southern Minnesota, San Angelo, Texas, New York, New York. Don't break out into Frank Sinatra because I'll love it. Meridian, Connecticut, Scottsdale, Arizona. We got people checking in from all over. Not too many people from outside the country. I know in South Africa, it's in the middle of the night. Thank you for being in here. Moline, Indiana, new subscriber and love it so far. Mary, happy plans and tracks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. There she is. She says she is new. She's a new subscriber and she loves it so far. I don't know. It might be you, Joe, because you have that handsome look. I'm enough to scare anybody off. Las Vegas, Nevada. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Stacy's mom, please. We don't want to hear about it. California City. Where are the boys? Ground zero for Orrin and Orson West, allegedly. Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I think we've completed our roll call. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. Joe, let's dive into this. I'll put it up on the board. It's going to be a lot of reading. Let me make it bigger. That's what she said. Hold on. All right, here we go. I'm glad nobody caught that. All right. How come I can't get... Okay, here we are. I gotta go full screen with it because I can't get it to get larger. There. So this is page 1. There's really not much. Is that good? Can everybody see that? Joe, you can see it good?
Yes.
By a show of hands in the chat, how is the... I mean, I don't think I can make it too much bigger. It's 100% right now. By a show of hands in the chat, how many of you guys can see this? Put a 1. Hello from Ireland. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Isabel. I think I can make it a little bit bigger. Oh wow. All right. This is definitely for the vision impaired. All right, here we go. Let's get it going. So it's Idaho, state of Idaho, plaintiffs versus Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, aka Lori Daybell. I can't believe they put that in there. Yeah, she asked the court to address her as Lori Daybell. That's how proud. Yeah, that's how proud she is of that scumbag that she's with.
Jeez.
All right, here we go with count 1. You want to take it over, Joe? Joe Murray is the criminal defense attorney for those of you who are joining. I know you can't see him, but he's going to be in the background talking. Take it, Joe.
Count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and grand theft by deception, a felony, Idaho Code. And it lists the various statutes, both for the conspiracy, the murder, and the theft. The defendants, Chad Guy Daybell, Lori Noreen Vallow, and Alex Cox, who's deceased, and other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, on or between the dates of October 26, 2018, and continuing until January 15, 2020, in the county of Madison, state of Idaho, and elsewhere, including Fremont County, Idaho, and as part of the continuing criminal transaction and common scheme or plan in Madison and Fremont counties, Idaho, did willfully and knowingly combine, conspire, confederate, and agree to commit murder in the first degree of Tylee Ryan, and to commit grand theft by deception. Now, because it is a conspiracy charge, there has to be overt acts. Overt acts are what they conspired to do together in the furtherance of this conspiracy, or the acts they've taken in the furtherance of the conspiracy. And it reads, in furtherance of the conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception, and to effect the objects thereof, one or more of the following overt acts were committed by one or more of the subjects of the conspiracy as part of a continuing criminal transaction and common scheme or plan within Madison and Fremont counties or elsewhere in the state of Idaho. On or between October 26, 2018 and June 9th, 2020, Chad Guy Daybell and Lori Noreen Vallow did endorse and espouse religious beliefs for the purposes of encouraging and or justifying the homicide of Tylee Ryan. This is incredibly tragic. Just reading this, this is exactly what we talked about too. On or about August 16, 2019, Lori Noreen Vallow did change the deposit of Tylee Ryan's Social Security benefits from Tylee Ryan's JP Morgan Chase account to deposit money directly into Lori Noreen Vallow's personal BBVA bank account. On or about September 1st, 2019, Lori Noreen Vallow did move from Chandler, Arizona to Rexburg, Idaho with Alex Cox, Tylee Ryan, and Joshua Jackson Vallow, hereinafter JJ Vallow. Poor little JJ.
Wow.
Number 4, on or about September 8, 2019, Chad Guy Daybell Googled SSW wind and visited a website entitled, "What is the definition of SSW wind direction?" On or about September 9, 2019, Alex Cox did go to 565 Pioneer Road, apartment 175, Rexburg, Idaho. Number 6, on or between September 9th, 2019 and February 1st, 2020, Lori Noreen Vallow failed or refused to contact the Social Security Administration as required by law to inform the Social Security Administration of Tylee Ryan's death on or between September 25th, 2019 and January 22nd, 2020, Lori Noreen Vallow did wrongfully continue to collect 5 monthly Social Security survivor benefits on behalf of Tylee Ryan. Despicable.
Yeah, that's a really despicable act. And she
Absolutely.
knew obviously that they were both deceased at that time.
So the fact that these are the overt acts, and you see where they're talking about her transferring the benefits from her account into Lori's
Vallow.
account,
Yep.
that just shows the intent, that to defraud, and that she continued to receive checks 5 months.
Right.
That just shows, the obvious intent to defraud. I mean, you're not
When they
entitled
talk
to
about-
that, and you continue to accept it.
Right. When they talk about grand theft by deception, can you kind of expand on that? That was 2 counts there, and I think that's referring to this. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. I mean, the fact that she set this up, she changed the direct deposit of those checks to her account. And then here's just like, what did they think? This was not going to be discovered? That
Right.
she continued to collect 5 monthly Social Security survivor benefits on behalf of Tylee Ryan. I mean,
Yeah.
there it is. There's by deception. Tylee
So-
was dead. Tylee
so-
had been deceased.
So money was important to this woman, as we saw. When there was a clip that I played in the previous live stream that I did on this case, where Nate Eaton was in Hawaii and was following Chad and Lori Vallow, and she had a bag, like a clear, like a transparent, like satchel kind of bag that she was carrying in Hawaii, and it was filled with money. And he asked her on camera, "What are you doing with all that money? Where are you going? How come you have so much money?" So money was an important thing to Lori Vallow and probably Chad Daybell as well, because as we know, and as we'll hear soon, Chad Daybell increased the life insurance on his wife before he killed her. Now,
But just look at this stuff. I mean, this is a conspiracy to commit murder and grand theft. But look at the dates: 2018, October 26, 2018. I mean, they planned this, and then I guess obviously the moving, because they put it in here as an overt act in the furtherance of this conspiracy to move, and and then changing the deposit, like all of this here. It's just so sad that nobody could see this in advance to intercept it, just spotting that there's a red flag popping up here,
Yep. I'm going to go a little bit off topic here because that's not what we're addressing at this moment. But I saw more than a few people ask about it in the chat. Tammy Daybell was alleged to die in her sleep, and the coroner made it it was a direct pickup by the funeral home. So there was no investigation done, and then they did. Then they backtracked, and then they realized, oh, we have something's fishy here. So they went and exhumed her body and conducted an autopsy. I did a live stream. I will link it down below with the chief of staff of the New York City Medical Examiner's Office, Barbara Butcher. She is a forensic pathologist. She knows everything about this stuff, and she basically said to me, and this was even off camera when we spoke. She said, I wouldn't be surprised that the autopsy results came. Obviously, it's back in because they charged him with murder. But she said, I wouldn't be surprised when the results are released that you hear about her being poisoned. And I hope and I pray that that's what they have to charge first-degree murder on Chad Daybell. It looks like Lori Vallow is charged with first-degree conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. But there was. Let's look at page 7 quickly about Lori Vallow. Let me just go to page 7, because I think it spells out first degree murder. All right, this is page 7. Defendant. Let me just read this for a second. Kill Tammy Daybell. Assistant killing. Because I saw an argument here. Grand theft. Yeah. So I saw someone say that she did get charged with first degree murder, and not just the conspiracy. Joe, did you read this over good or do you?
Well, I mean, that's kind of what I was concerned with, because, you know, it only charges Chad, but look at the reading of it. It says that the defendant, Chad Guy Daybell, on or about October 18th and 19th, 2019, the county of Fremont, state of Idaho, was concerned in the commission of first degree murder and did aid and abet in its commission, or not being present, advised and encouraged its commission, or by command compelled another to commit the crime, and did so with malice aforethought, and did so willfully and deliberately. So, you know, before I read the rest of that, look at this. This is accessory liability here. I mean, it's statutory language, so you don't know exactly what the key terms are, but I would have thought that this is something that, you know, aided and abetted and
Right.
language like that.
Am I reading this right? Does this language sound like he directed somebody to go and poison or kill or do whatever to his wife?
It's, you know, I really got to look at 184001. 184003A is the murder charge. 4001 is, where is that? Oh, that's just their murder defined. And 4003 is the first degree murder specifications. So A, if you read A, 184003, that's the section he's charged under. The
Right.
statutory language is all murder, which is perpetrated by means of poison or lying in wait or torture, when torture is inflicted with the intent to cause suffering, to execute vengeance, to extort something from the victim, or to satisfy some sadistic inclination, or which is perpetrated by any kind of willful, deliberate, premeditated killing, is murder of the first degree.
So
That's
within
what he's charged with.
yeah, within that is a subsection for poisoning, right?
Yes. Yes.
I would have to, if I'm a betting man, I'd have to say pink frothy foam was coming out of Tammy Daybell's mouth, as we all heard. Her daughter, she spoke to the press. She said that she came to the house and her mother was on the floor with a pink frothy foam coming out of her mouth, and Barbara
Wow.
Butcher, the chief medical examiner, the chief of staff from the New York City Medical Examiner Office, who's got 30 some odd years in this field, said that is an indicator of poisoning. Anybody here, by a show of hands in the chat, remember that live stream where Barbara Butcher was on with me and Bill Cannon was there, and we talked about this pink foamy froth coming from Tammy Daybell? Well, that's, I think, where this is going. This count for first degree murder against Chad Daybell. But I thought I heard someone say that Lori Vallow was charged as well. But listen, at the end of the day, these top chargers, if convicted and found guilty, will seal their fate, as we know. I keep saying that. I'm going to bring her back on. Josh says bring her back on, please. I already spoke to her today, and Barbara is going to come back on. But I'm going to have her back on once it's confirmed that it's poisoning. And Joe, when do you think in the process that those details will come out? You have anything on that?
Well, discovered the indictment has been unsealed, because indictments are a secret proceeding, and it's unsealed, and they are served with these charges. The defense will immediately serve their motions, including a demand for discovery. So I haven't looked at the Idaho discovery statutes, but you know, there's been a lot of criminal justice reform going around the country, and I think that's one of the things about due process. I'm being charged with a serious crime. I should be entitled to know what you know. So
Right.
turn over that discovery. And I have to admit, even though I'm a law and order guy and conservative in that regard, as a defense attorney, it's a nightmare under the old discovery statutes. They were archaic. I could be picking a jury and I'm learning, documents are being given to me and I'm learning information for the first time. That's just fundamentally unfair to a defendant who's being charged with a serious crime that could result in his incarceration.
Yeah.
So I'm happy and I embrace that type of discovery reform. That is true criminal justice reform, by giving earlier access. But you have to balance that access with also the victim's rights. Like New York went way overboard and said all discovery must be disclosed in 15 days. That's just impossible. It
Right.
can't happen. It was amended because they realized how reckless they were in their zeal to appease the progressive end. But it's a balance that we have to, the defendant's rights versus the public and the victim.
Right.
That's the balancing act that we have to do.
Let me address quickly to Chad Daybell. That's the discrepancy in his story with his wife. He said he found her in bed when the daughter arrived in a short period of time. Her own daughter, his daughter, the deceased daughter, said her mother was on the floor with a pink foamy froth coming from her mouth. And Barbara, when I questioned her on that, said that is an indicator of poisoning. And then I further asked her if a person was embalmed and interned in the ground for a period of time and then is brought back up and exhumed, what are the chances of them collecting evidence that would be enough to charge murder? And she said, it depends, but it could be done. And I see here, we are now today, the charges are murder first degree against Chad Daybell, Lori Vallow, conspiracy to commit first degree murder. I think wheels of justice are in motion. There's many more steps in this process that we have to go through. But at the end of the day, this is what we all were waiting for. And by a show of hands in the chat, who here is happy for little JJ Vallow, who would have been 9 years old today? These charges came out today, and it's no coincidence in my mind that this happened on this day. God has a funny way of working things, but the DA Rob Wood and Lindsay Blake came forward today with this blockbuster charges against these two demons, and I feel this is going to seal their fate if convicted of these charges. Joe, what do you think? What's their how as a defense attorney? I mean, I know you don't have access to the case folder, but what are they up against, their defense team?
It appears they're up against a lot. You know, for the grand jury to return this type of indictment, there had to be a lot of evidence. When you look at the overt acts, we're talking about computer searches. They've gotten apparently search warrants on their computers or phones, and they're including them as overt acts, the various searches that were done. So the planning of this and the conspiracy is just important as the murder charge itself. And you'll see the time span is a great time span, over a year. So there's a lot of evidence that they picked up in the course of that conspiracy time frame that is going to be daunting at trial. The one concern I have is with so many charges, at least for now, that they're going to, and it's, you know, it's a strategic thing because there's a lot of evidence. They have to, when you offer evidence, it has to be relevant and probative of some element of the crime. You can't just throw stuff in there willy-nilly. And that's why conspiracies are great, because you can pretty much introduce anything for the conspiracy charge, and it will all help you for the underlying murder charge as a prosecutor. But you got to be careful, because the more you throw out there, the more the defense has to play with. and the defense can look at this material and find defects in it and things that you may have tested or found to be one thing. We test it and find it to be something else. So it's just more evidence is great because it shows the strength of your case, but it also allows the defense to poke holes in it because you have so many more things to look at. It's a juggling act when you're prosecuting a case like this. You have all your balls in the air and you're trying to keep things, straight. But with so much evidence, look at the OJ case. I mean, they had everything in that case, and they found a glove that didn't fit, or some of the other evidence. Unfortunately, they allege the police misconduct that took place. That can change a jury's mind. So there's really a lot to look at in this case.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. And thank you for that perspective. Jamie Texas Chick, who is also a channel member and a staunch supporter of the DutyRon family, she says they haven't said they will go for the death penalty, but they probably will, especially if someone is talking. They have 60 days as per the press conference with Lindsay Blake, 60 days after the plea comes in. They will be arraigned on these new charges tomorrow. And then will they be able to enter a plea on, not at arraignment, right? Well, yeah, they'll.
Yeah, you have to enter a plea at arraignment.
Right. I was just getting confused there for a second. There's so much going on, guys. And I'm 57 years old and it's late. It's past my bedtime.
57 years young.
There you go. Thank you, brother. So yeah, they're going to plead tomorrow. Probably not guilty, Joe, right? As a defense attorney, what do you got to lose by saying not guilty, right?
Well, when you're talking about life in prison for the rest of your life, your natural life, or death, is really not a lot to negotiate with here. Like you really have no choice but to plead not guilty unless you're going to accept one of those penalties.
Right.
Or if there's some way that the prosecutor would consider coming off, a top count or a lesser sentence. But you want to look at the evidence first. You would never advise your client to take a plea to something without looking at the evidence.
Right. Unless, of course, they turn to their attorney and said, I can't go through with this. I'm guilty. Sort of like Chris Watts, what he did. He took it right down into almost the end and then just said, I want to plead guilty. Thumbs up to Linda Cormier. Thumbs up to all the moderators. Thank you so much for being here, Linda. I appreciate you. I thank you. Who else is here? Terry Freeman is in the building, and great to see you. Anna Marie, is she saying she loves us? So this is a new subscriber here. I know Anna Marie. She's from out in Suffolk County. I muted you because it was echoing and coming through. Echoing. I'm hearing myself twice. So I don't know. It just all of a sudden started happening. So you might want to talk to your production staff over there, Joe. I had to do it. It stopped now. So whatever was happening stopped. I heard myself repeating. So it's good now. You don't need to scold anybody. It's good, Joe. You're good, brother.
I think she was just tuning in on her own little device, and that.
Yeah, tell her that's a no. She gets a little spank on the bottom at the end of the show by you. So that's why I paused it. Let me say hello to a couple of people. Dawn Marie, thank you so much. So L. McQueen says, I don't think it's right to incur the expense related to trial and the emotional toll on the Woodcocks and Colby Ryan and the younger Daybell children. I tend to agree with that statement, but we have no control over what the judge states. Rather than to take an attorney off a case, I think they decided to pay the private attorney because they deemed Lori Vallow as indigent. She couldn't afford an attorney. Usually over here in New York, if that happens, they appoint a public defender. But I think that to keep continuity in this case and not to mess it up, they allowed him to stay on, and I guess he's getting the state rate. I don't know how that works. Do you know how that works, Joe?
Oh yeah. It's a threshold number that they look at to see how much, whether or not you qualify, and certainly somebody who's incarcerated, unless they have significant assets that haven't been seized, you'll you're not going to have the money for a lawyer.
All right, let me correct this. Miss Savage says conspiracy to commit conspiracy to murder is punishable by death. Am I hearing this right? That's not. You're not hearing it right. Murder in the first degree with one or more with what, two or more, Joe? Yeah, here it's two or more. Well, we don't have it on the books anymore, or a law enforcement officer. So you have three murder charges on Chad Daybell. You have two on Lori Vallow. That constitutes, and it fits the. I don't want to use the legal mumbo jumbo, but it fits the bill for charging the death penalty, capital punishment. So, Miss Savage, I hope that clears up the discrepancy or maybe what you were not hearing or hearing. So yeah, Chad's neighbor died suspiciously. I would have to say there's at least minimum another three people that died in the vicinity of these two monsters. So you're looking at three other people who lost their lives that are not included in this. But I will say this: if they are convicted of these charges, it will put them behind bars and essentially get justice for the additional victims, because it won't matter if they get charged again with these, double life sentences. It's a lot of hogwash. I mean, they're in there. What are they? 52 and 47. So one conviction of any of these top charges, they're finished. So it doesn't even matter. And Joe, I mean, I don't know. You agree with me on that, Joe?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, because it'll come down to sentencing judge who, looking at this full indictment and all the crimes that were charged, he's going to look at the trial testimony and the evidence and also their history.
Right.
But I don't think either one of them coming out of this is going to see the light of day if they're convicted.
Right.
A death penalty case, though, I got to tell you, it changes it. They really have to think heavy and hard about it, because you're asking regular people, jurors, to make a decision to execute somebody. It's very difficult, and I pick a lot of juries, and when we do so, one of the main questions is, and the judges will ask them, do you have any objection to passing judgment on somebody? And a lot of people, for their religious beliefs, feel, I can't sit here and judgment on somebody. Only God could do that.
Right.
So think that's just, a criminal penalty. We're talking about killing somebody, talking about executing somebody. So you better be, pretty sure of your evidence and feel confident that you're able to get a death qualified jury to hear your case. It's a very difficult decision to make.
And also, too, let's not forget that one of the children, Tylee Ryan, was dismembered and burned. This is a graphic, despicable crime that was committed by these two sick, evil monsters. And I could say allegedly committed by these two. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, I mean, all fingers and all guilt points to them. I know that a lot of folks think that they've ordered these murders, but let me tell you, these two were killing machines in my eyes. There's so many people around them, neighbors mysteriously dying. I think, if Chad had his way with his wife, with Tammy, he would have he wouldn't have had her interned. He would have had her cremated to get rid of the evidence. But because her family was so religious, they wanted to have a service for her. He couldn't do that. He couldn't pull that off. And I think that was the saving grace to get these charges brought forward, because he thought, because he was a gravedigger, and he was like, if I put her in the ground, I think I'm safe. And he was, just for a short period of time. But that's just goes to show you how evil and how they conjured up this way to get rid of, and the way to get away with disposing of people who were in their way. They don't forget, he married this woman right out of high school. They were high school sweethearts. So his wife, who he spent his whole adult life with, basically, he just killed her like it was nothing. So, it's arguing, people will argue that he's a serial killer, she's a serial killer. I feel strongly that anything with the extreme religion, people. Listen, we have radical Islamic terrorists, right? We have people who are Islamic that are peaceful and that love to pray and love people. We wouldn't think are harming anybody, but it's the radicalized folks that are dangerous in any religion, Catholic, anything. So, again, this is a horrific case. We're going to follow it closely. Joe Murray is a criminal defense attorney. I have his website linked on my website. So if you go over to DutyRon.com, I ask you to please follow me on all things social media. One word, DutyRon. That's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I share all of my videos on those platforms. So if you can follow me on those platforms, go over to my Discord server, DutyRon.com, and put in the subject, join Discord, and I'll add you to it. Yeah, I appreciate everybody positively interacting here. I did a couple of quick live streams on this in the past. Go down and look at my playlists for Tammy, um, Chad Daybell, and Lori Vallow. There's about 26 videos in there that I've done. And also go check out all of my other content. By a show of hands, who was in the live stream, the interactive live stream last night with Suzanne Morphew's stepbrother? I had Tommy Owen on last night. It was a great show. We had a great donation that was given to him, and Joe Murray right here gave and matched my $500. So he walked out of this live stream last night with $1,000 and it was such a touching moment. If you weren't there, I encourage you to go and watch the replay because we did touch that family last night. And I thank you, Joe, for your generosity. And Angela, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. That is greatly appreciated and never necessary. Yeah, Joe, thank you so much for that generosity. That was beautiful.
Listen, what you do is amazing here, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it. And what I saw last night, with Tommy, it just broke my heart. I mean, it reminded me. I was telling him, he called me later today, actually, and I was just telling him just how heartbreaking it is, and it brought back memories. Did you have to make a death notification? I had the most horrible experience. It was a woman who died in a car accident in Jersey, and they called our squad. I was in Midtown North, but at the time the squad was just all over the place. So they had uniform do it. And I went to this apartment, and she happened to be a nun, and her brother was her, surviving family. And just to have to sit there with him, and, we kind of eased him into it. Oh, your sister was in a car accident. But just when I finally told him, that his sister had passed away, he just broke down. I saw his face change. It was an incredible,
Right.
painful experience. I watched him age about 10 years.
Right.
The horror in his face to learn that his sister passed away. So, I got a little sense of that when I was watching, Tommy on your show and the emotion that he was showing, and it just really got to me. So
Yeah.
I love what you do, and I'll always support you. I think it's a great show, and I'm always going to be there for you.
Joe, thank you, brother. Yeah, making a death notification is one of the toughest parts of the job, and I did it more than a few times. When you look at Tom, when I saw Tommy on Chris McDonough's show, the interview room, I saw the sadness on his face, and it's something that us law enforcement guys pick up on because when we make those kind of notifications and we see families go and grieve. Now, don't forget, he just found out on May 5th that his stepsister is, the law enforcement said, we believe she's not alive. So that's a devastating blow to a family that had holding on to some glimmer of hope that maybe she would be recovered or found or whatever. So you could see the look on his face, and that's what got to me too. And I think you saw the same thing, and we're on the same page. So it's great. Mallory Doyle sends in a $5 super chat, and she said, "Would the beliefs of Chad and Lori ever come into sentencing?" like them believing that they would give their lives for doing what needed to be done in their eyes. Would that justify?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I was representing them, and I'm sure any attorney that represents them, if they're convicted, what you do is a whole full-blown evaluation, a pre-sentencing report, giving the judge all mitigating factors and things like weakened mental state and, things that had contributed to this behavior. But absolutely, this would definitely be something that I'd want experts to review and comment on, and even just talk about historical data to show the judge, okay, this is a horrific thing, but here's the mitigation that we have that goes with it to hopefully affect the sentencing.
Right. So that could be, we could be looking at that coming up in an impending trial coming forward for both of these. And would you say that they will try to break for separation, because there was talk about that they were going to try them together? Would it be in the best interest of their attorneys to ask for separate?
Yeah, I don't see that happening though. This is they're both co-conspirators, and it's judicial economy, as they say. It's the same witnesses, same evidence for the same crimes. So I don't see a severance coming.
Okay, gotcha. Julie, thank you so much. Dr. Moskowitz, she says, Joe, what a heart you have. Heart of gold. Thank you for your service, Joe.
Thank you.
Of hearts, a bunch of prayer, and looks like crosses. And she's of the Jewish faith, so thank you. And God bless you guys for all of what you do. Her husband is a doctor, and she is I believe, she's going to scold me for this because I should know it, but I think she's a PA. But anyways, thank you guys for both the services that you have put forward for your community. A couple other questions, and then we're going to wrap it up, Joe, because I can't afford your overtime rate. I already paid the regular rate.
Right.
Yeah. So people are saying Jamie Texas Chick says, "Yep, they're in it together." So they're definitely in it together. So here's one of the questions. The big question now is, will they turn on each other? I think so.
Yeah, that's but I go back to count 6. Count 6 could be very significant because it does look like it was written and presented for 2 people or more, 2 or more people. Maybe not, but if it is, that could be something that the prosecution is looking at now. Maybe having one cooperate against the other is significant, but I want to watch that. I want to watch count 6 to see, if there's any more information we get out of that, because it certainly looks like it was written for more than Chad Guy Daybell, So
we're going to post this in the Discord group. So if you're not joined into the Discord group, send me a message on DutyRon.com, and in the subject title, put Discord invite. I'll have all of this posted up in the Discord group after this live stream ends.
And it's entirely possible that the prosecutor did not offer it because they didn't feel they had the evidence. But looking at, the conspiracy, and they have her in the conspiracy, this could be our system at work. A grand jury saying, no, prosecutor, this is an overreach. You don't have enough, and we're only going to indict Chad. And that's significant.
Yeah, I guess only time will tell here. Linda Cormier from Canada says, I think they are hiding behind their religious thing. I'm sure that'll come into play, but a lot of things are going to unfold. This is going to be a fluid case. We're going to cover it. It's going to be tomorrow. The hearing is going to be on the court's YouTube channel. That's going to be in eastidahonews.com. I'll link that below so you guys can go in there. 11 a.m. Idaho time. I think that's Mountain time. And 11:30, Lori will be in. So Lori Shallow will be in at 11:30, and Chad Daybell will be at 11 o'clock. I think that's going to be it for now. Yes, he was a gravedigger, Chad Daybell. He worked at a cemetery. and that was his profession. He dug graves. So I'm sure that'll come up too as well in the in this trial. It will be definitely be brought up and spoke about. Guys, I want to wish you a lot of love and respect. Joe Murray, thank you so much. Criminal defense attorney, retired NYPD police officer. Joe is a great friend of this show, and I welcome him here anytime for his professional take on the criminal aspect of this. So thank you, Joe. Yeah, thank you, Joe, and to your back room and your boss. Thank her. Give her a nice.
Angela,
yes.
she dropped $10 on you there.
Thank you. Oh wow,
that was to make up for the sound malfunction.
Wait, and did I miss it? No, I
Oh,
said,
you got it. Angela Ng.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you. I'm sorry that I didn't recognize the name. I'm so mesmerized by your significant other. And did you see the comment that I put up on the screen? Someone said that you're very handsome, Joe.
Oh, listen, hey.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I love this true crime stuff. I don't know if anybody on your channel is familiar with a show on the ID channel called The Perfect Murder. I was on it for 5 years. I played like the last 5 minutes of each episode was the trial. They would talk about an actual real homicide, and the last 5 minutes would be the actual courtroom proceeding. And we had such a good time because most of the guys who were on the show are all retired NYPD guys, and we had so much fun working together. It was really such a great thing. So I'm curious if any of your viewers have watched The Perfect Murder.
Anybody watch The Perfect Murder? I think it's on the ID network, right? ID network
channel, yeah.
ID channel. Anybody see Joe Murray as what did you play on there?
I played a prosecutor, a judge, a defense attorney. It was just so much fun. I really love that show.
All right. Let's see. Anybody see that show? All right. A lot of people are going to go check it out. Wait. Anne Marie says that she has. She said, I have Facebook. So very cool. Good.
Yeah.
You shared an episode with me, and I watched a little bit of it before we went live. So here's another one of your fans, Joe.
There we go. Hello.
Lord have mercy. All right, listen, guys. Let's reel it in before this turns into a show.
This could be a homicide over here. Wait a minute.
She's about to pull the plug on you. Now, these are all respectful fans, and listen, it's all done and said with the utmost respect.
Yeah, I love them. They're great.
I get it occasionally too, Joe. So yeah, it is what it is. I appreciate everybody being here, and as I always like to end these live streams, I say, God bless the world, God bless the United States of America, and God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, and all victims of crime across the nation, across our globe, and the families and families of these victims. So thank you so much from Joe Murray and myself, Crime Time with DutyRon. We'll see you on the next one. And tomorrow, look for an update on the on Chad and Lori. I'll update you quickly at about 2 p.m. on their court proceeding and how that goes. I'm anticipating a guilty plea, and so is Joe. So good night.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Yeah. No, not guilty plea. That's right. Right. It was just subliminally coming out as a guilty with me.
And then we may see another bail application. And I'm telling you, this indictment count 6 could play a role in that bail application.
We shall see. We shall see. All right, my brother. Thank you so much. Good night from New York. And I'll talk to you soon, guys, on the next one. See ya.